we're checkmating with a king and two bishops. We're going to start the king in the center of the board because he's safest there. We're going to start the opposing pieces in their starting positions in any game of chess. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to attack the center squares of the board. Here we go. We're attacking these two center squares of the board. Of course, the king is safest in the center of the board, so he's going to try and hang out in the center of the board, or at least as long as possible. We're going to attack the final two center squares of the board with this bishop. Now, the king is forced outside of these four center squares. We know how important these are, don't we? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to occupy the center squares of the board. So we're going to take this bishop and put him here. So one of the bishops now presently occupies the center squares of the board. The king is still going to hang out near those four center squares. That's okay. We're going to join in with our other bishop. We have created a solid line here. This king is now isolated to one quadrant of the board. Here we go, right here. That's where the king gets to hang out. So we're going to keep him there until we can get our king into position. And now our king wants to get to this square. This king is now attacking that square. So we have to enlist what we call a waiting move. So we're going to wait for this king to get out of the way. He has no other choice. King go here, king go here, king go here, of course. So he's got to back away from the square that we want. Now, we have all of our pieces in position. This is the formation we want, something like a knight's travel. A total of 4 squares. Now, tell the kids it's called a scoop. We're going to scoop this guy on over into the corner. Well, actually, once we get a little closer, it could be possible to wind up being checkmated in the HA, but that's neither here nor there at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the game out. We're going to continue to look at the fact that all of these squares are being attacked, which means that the king has no other choice but to take a step back. Now, we're going to progress these 3 pieces one time only in this formation. We have to remember outside bishop, inside bishop, king, in that order. So we're going to take a step with our outside bishop. Now this king is going to move somewhere. So let's say he moves here. Now we're going to go inside bishop. That's fine. And the king is going to move again because he wants to attack this square to keep this king from getting to it. So we're going to enlist the aid of another waiting move. Waiting moves are awkward, but they're good for keeping you on tempo. What is tempo? It is the rhythm of the game. So once the king moves away, we find ourselves back on tempo. Now, of course, again, these surrounding squares are being attacked. Bishop here and here, bishop here, and king here, and bishop here. Well, king and bishop here. So again, the king is forced back. Now we're going to get our king into opposition. This king will probably move here because he wants to stay away from the corners, right? Of course he wants to stay away from the corners. That's okay. We're going to still go this way. Even though we wanted to get our king in opposition, we cannot ignore the fact that we have a solid line. He's not going far. He'll be back. All right, so let's say he were to step here. We already know that he can't go here, here, or here because of these 2 bishops. So he has to come back. So what do? We'll have another waiting move. But it's very important to remember that if we were to have a waiting move with the king, we would no longer be attacking this square and subsequently setting the king free. We don't want to let the king get back onto the 7th rank of the board. So what we'll do is just a waiting move. So now the king he's got to come back. So he's coming back this way. Now what we're going to do is always attack the squares behind him. What constitutes behind him? If we want him to go this way and wind up in A8, then we want to gently push him that way. How do we convince him that this is the path he wants to take? We just attack the squares behind him. So when he comes here, we attack the squares behind him. Now when he comes here, of course, we want to attack this square with our king. Why? Because we want to keep him on the 8th rank. So of course he'll be stubborn and he'll come away from that corner, which is fine because we're still attacking the squares behind him. We're forcing him over and check again. And we're forcing him over and checkmate. There you have it, geniuses. Chessology.org's lesson on checkmating with a king and 2 bishops.